living organism like yourself. So we have been discussing the self-assembly of synthetic molecules as a factor that we use for various purposes. And last week we talked about self-assembly of phosphopolymers, which are larger molecules that we use through some synthetic chemistry, and also that we can explore for various applications. Today we're going to focus on three classes of molecules that constitute yourself, how they work, and many different things that happens within a living organism. It's a very complex phenomenon. So we're going to just cover a very brief outline of some of the factors and the characteristics of these molecules, comprising of lipids, DNA, and proteins. If I ask you what's the difference between a fat and an oil, what would you say? What's the difference between a fat and an oil?
Viscosity.
Sorry?
Viscosity.
Viscosity. Okay. What else?
Molecular weight.
Sorry?
Molecular weight.
Molecular weight. Yeah, that's true too. But when people say a fat and an oil, what do they mean? What?
Liquid.
This,
Solid.
okay, liquid and solid. So that's probably the major descriptive. You never call a person oily. You call a person that the person is fat. You don't call a person oily, right? So it's to do with how these lipids are being stored, and depending on the molecular mass, they are either liquid or in solid form. For example, one of the major, I'm not sure if you live in India, you use a lot of fat to cook. Ghee is one major fat. Animal fat typically are solid because of their high molecular weight. And in Asia, one of the major form of oil that people use is vegetable oils, not the soybean oil, but the palm oil, coconut oil, palm oil, two major sources of vegetable oils. And because of their characteristic, palm oil typically has two major fragments, and that's how they. If you ever been to a palm oil mill and palm oil refinery, I have worked in these two industries for a short period of time. The palm oil mill is where they extract the oil to cooking the fruit, and then they put in different chemical processes to eventually get a crude palm oil. The crude palm oil is like a crude oil from the ground, but this is vegetable oil, right? It has many fragments. So one of the important processes in a palm oil refinery is a process that involves separating these two fractions, the solid fat, with the commas, and the liquid. They call it stearic components. Anything above C20 and above, they are solid at room temperature. We call them a fat. That's where you make margarine, which is a fat, as we call it. And then cooking oil that we use, which is a low molecular mass, they are liquid at room temperature, so they're called an oil. Okay, so these are very, very important energy storage compound in every living organism. People are now exploring using algae to extract oil from. And then there's these two other very functional components, the DNA and the proteins, which are very, very important. And they are useful because of some of their very unique conformation behavior that we're going to talk about. So let's talk about lipids first. So lipids, in this lectures I'm going to discuss three component lipids, what are the types and characteristics. Then we're going to talk about how this characteristic induces their self-assembling properties. And then we're going to move on and talk about DNA, their structures, and the characteristic of how they behave and why they're so important, without which you do not exist, right? DNA is a defining characteristic of every living organism and human beings. So then we're going to talk about proteins, which is the other very important various molecules present. Some are functional, some are structural, depending on what they are. And we're talking about their structures and how the structures impart certain unique properties that make them useful. Okay, and then I'm going to end, since this is a graduate course, we have to talk about some very simple Okay? So when we talk about lipids, one of the major components is what we call fatty acids. So lipids are basically biomolecules that contain either a fatty acid, which is the linear long chain molecule with the groups, or you have a class of very, very important molecules that we've heard about, a lot about in the reporting world, which is steroids. But they're very, very important, and they have a very, very unique function. And this steroid component has many, many, many forms, and they have very, very important functions in our body. Okay? And these lipids typically are simply soluble in organic solvents, typically not in water. So when you cut the chicken up, lots of fat, you remove the fat because they are not supposed to be very, very good for you. So this word, lipids, comes from lipo, which means fat. That's how all the classes of description for lipids come from. So, and typically you extract them. There's this big, in Vancouver, there's a company that manufactures lipids because one of the major important delivery compounds used for drug delivery is liposome, right? That is produced from those lipid molecules that start assembling the vesicles, and so there are ways you can extract them. So that's why some companies use organic solvent to extract them because they are typically not very soluble. Okay? So there are various types, there are many, many different types of lipids. Okay? That's why this variation of types leads to diversity of biological function. And that's very, very important. Okay? So the first is the non-polar lipids we call fat. And these are the principal molecules that one uses to store energy. Okay? We need energy to function, and hence our body store energy in the form of fat, and they are being used on demand depending on what is your lifestyle. Okay? So if you eat too much, like most North American or rich countries, right? You eat too much, and if you're a chemical engineer, you talk about mass balance in and out. If there's not balance, there's accumulation, right? Accumulation, your liver, your body has to do something about the problem. So you have to find ways to take care of that. So you store somewhere, usually in your belly, right? That's where you start to put on weight. Okay, so lifestyle has a lot to do with the way we function. So that's one of the major form of lipids, and their function is to store energy. Okay, then there are these polar lipids. These are very, very important lipids that have nitrogen. As you know, nitrogen is a very important atomic species that we can, because of the lone pair electron, they can be charged and uncharged. They have polar properties. So they have hydrogen bonds. So these are very important. All amino acids has nitrogen group. Okay, and the other thing is phosphorus, and that's very, very important in all the DNA, RNA, and the lipids too. This is a very important compound or molecule that imparts charges on the lipids. So as a result, the lipids, remember we talked about amphiphilic. That means that if the lipid is very hydrophobic, right, if you put a charge on one end, then you have created an amphiphilic molecule, which means the molecule has a hydrophilic and a hydrophobic component. Hence, they will then exhibit some self-assembly properties. So these are very, very important molecules that you find in. Then there's a third class of lipids, which we hear a lot about. Either you read the sports news, you hear people on steroids and what it can do to you. I remember I used to, when I was in my third year at Vancouver, I was doing my co-op or University of Waterloo. I lived with a few Australian guys. One of them is a boy these different compounds to make them look yellow and, interesting lifestyle. People do different things to change their body, And steroid is a very, very big class, and one of the major class, and this is the undesirable part, is cholesterol. Cholesterol is one of the major molecules that is responsible for heart disease, but they're very important. It has a very, very important function in our body. So ultimately, in life, and in everything we do, is the balance. If you have right balance, they are very beneficial to your body, because these are very, very important for biological membrane. In every cell in the membrane, you have cholesterol, which is very, very important in the function of cell membrane. Okay? Because the membrane has to be dynamic. So cholesterol has a very, very important role in controlling the membrane fluidity. And then also cholesterol is a precursor for many hormones. Okay? When you grow old, then you realize some hormone imbalance. Men go through midlife crisis, women go through menopause. So these are due to hormonal balance, because our body eventually can come to a point, degenerate, so we can't replenish, and hence there's an imbalance, and then there's a lot of physical problems. So cholesterol is very, very important. And then there's a lot of other compounds like here, retinol, vitamin K, a lot of vitamins are basically comprises of very, very hydrophobic molecule. So these are the many different, you have things that are used to absorb light, like carotene, retinol. That's how retinol, then there are a lot of enzymes that require vitamins. So if you are depleted of vitamin, if you don't eat a healthy diet, you are short of certain vitamin, then certain functioning of the system in your body doesn't work. Now these prostaglandins, for example. Anyone tell me what this is for? In fact, the name, this name was coined because when the person discovered it in the 1930s, he thought it was produced by the prostate glands, which was found to be untrue. It was actually one of the compounds that our cell produces. Anyone know what is prostate glands used for? It's a lipid that's very important if you want to give birth, the contraction of muscles. That's one of the major purposes. This is the thing that causes pain. Pain, that's what it produces. That's why aspirin is used to block the production of this. So that's why pain reliever is the blocking of the production of some of these compounds. So when you look at the human physiology, all of these fine balance of very, very minute amounts of all these compounds are very, very important. Okay? If you are lack of one, then you can see yourself having problems. Okay? So the classes of lipids here are summarized here. You can see lipids, there are various classes. I just talked about, so this is fatty acid is a generic form. So one of the major components of a lipid is the fatty acid. The prostaglandins is this molecule, that's an acid group, and then a long tail, this is the unsaturated hydrocarbon. And because of this, it has some very unique, the shape of the molecule has some very, very unique properties and function. Then there are three basic classes. You have waxes. This is basically a long-chain alcohol with some fatty acid. And then there's this is a very important, this is where a lot of energy is stored. You have glycerol, is associated with OH, 3 OH of both ends. Then how you graph fatty acid, it's called dry glycerol. This is the major fat storage component. And then you have this very important lipid system, depending what you graph onto it. They call glycerol phospholipids. You will graph phosphate or amino alcohol. You can have various different types that are very, very important part of the membrane function. Okay? And then there's this whole class we call steroids. There's a cholesterol, which is found abundantly. And then there's a bile salt. Remember last 2 weeks ago, people who have problems with bowel would not be able to, so you go skinny, so you're not able to absorb the fat. Then there's this whole class of steroid hormones that some people take it to achieve some strong physique, but they are very, very important in our function of our body. Okay, so three membrane lipids here. Basically, the setup is the same. Okay, you have this hydrophobic. If you have an unsaturated component, you have a king here. So that affects. Remember the packing ratio, right? So that will impact. So the size of this A group and the characteristic of this impact the packing factor, right? And that is going to determine what's the morphology of your subatomic structure in the system that you're using. So this is phospholipid, a very, very important class, and then there's cholesterol, this four-membered ring, plus retinols. This is a charged group, right? Acid alcohol, and that is the linear aliphatic chain. Okay? And then there's this important class of what we call glycolipid. Glycol refers to sugar, right? So any sugar like the cellulose base or glucose, you can have negative charge. And then depending on what connects this, so there are many different forms of glycolipids that you could make. So typically, the idea is you want to have a hydrophilic head and then a hydrophobic tail. The characteristic, the size of it depends on the chemical composition and the structure of this compound. Okay, so let's look at the first class of this lipid system. Is glycerol phospholipids. Okay, this is the most abundant. Glycerol is a three-member alcohol, right? And the OH groups can react with the fatty acid and have this aliphatic end groups. Okay, so two of this, the two tail phospholipid, and then the one end you attach phosphorus and amino alcohol. So that gives the positive charge is hydrophobic. So now this glycerol is basically a connector. It connects the hydrophobic tail and the hydrophilic charge group. Okay, so this is a very, very important lipid in the construction of the cell membrane. Okay, so in detail form, you basically have a right. This part is the glycerol, the OH group. Then react with the acid to form ester bond. So you have two non-polar linear chains. Okay. So if it is a unsaturated bond, then it has a band. So that's going to impact so when you look at the membrane structure, right, the band, that's going to impose some steric issue to the membrane. That's going to, it's very important in the rigidity of the membrane, because if the membrane is packed so tightly, then the membrane is a porous structure that opens and closes, that allows molecules to in and back into the store itself, right? And then here is the polar group. This nitrogen is very important because you can, depending on the pH, you can impose a charge, positive charge group and this negative. So those polar heads are very, very critical. So schematically, that's how you represent a phospholipid or glycerol phospholipids as shown here. So that it's one of the major components of a cell membrane. So in more detail, there are many, many different types, right? Depending on, right, what are the, like, choline, for example, is a group here with the N plus. Okay, so this N plus, this is very much a strong base, which means that it's always a positive charge. Okay, so which means that this head, you have these groups, will always be a positive charge. Some groups head can be protonated or deep, depending on the pH. So those are more pH responsive systems. So this different type is depending on the makeup of different component comprising the hydrophilic, which is the soluble N group, and the hydrophobic, which is the insoluble group. Okay, so that's the basic structure of lipids. Then the other type is we call lipolipids. So now you have the hydrophobic tail on the head group. Now you have the sugar residue. Okay, so sugar residue impart hydrophilic characteristics. The serine group is the one that connects this two tail to this sugar ring, and you can vary them. So they are compound that act as a receptor. They're very, very important because on the membrane there are a lot of things that have certain functions. So this lipolipids is a very, very important compound within the membrane of the surface of the cell that act as a receptor for different molecules. Okay, that facilitate the movement of different molecules in and out of the cell. Okay, the other group of lipids is we call steroids. And steroids are lipids that contain this structure. Okay, this is the nucleus of the steroids. So we have four fuse. It's a fuse structure of four rings, as shown here. Okay, and these are found in cholesterol, one of the major components of steroids. It's found in cholesterol, in bowel salt, in a lot of the hormones that are very important in regulating the body function, and vitamin D. So you look at the chemical structure of cholesterol, right? This is the most abundant steroid found in the human body. Okay, so it composed of the steroid nucleus, hydroxy group, right, and then methyl group on the other side. So basically, it's a very hydrophobic compound. Okay, but it is a very important molecule that is essential for our body function. So, cholesterol, as is known, up to 40% of mammalian cell membrane. Okay, if you're a mammal, which we are, 40% of your cell membrane is made up of this cholesterol. Okay, so we have a very small polar head group, usually a hydroxyl group. Okay, and a rigid steroid hydrocarbon four-membered ring, and then a linear flexible hydrocarbon chain. Okay, so these are, as you can see, the shape, because of the shape of this, so you can imagine what it does to the cell membrane, right? One of the very important functions, it makes the cell membrane more fluid, so that you can open and close them. Okay, so where are cholesterol found, right? We find that, okay, like liver, which I remember way back when I was, if you live in Asia, the Chinese, liver, pork. Liver is a very, very important form of protein, right? But it's also very, very high in cholesterol. So after heart disease become a major issue, people are now stop eating liver. In fact, liver is one organ that a lot of maybe Asians probably eat a lot. But now because of the fact that there are a lot of diseases, certain organs, people are now sort of refraining from eating liver. I remember when I was young, we eat a lot of liver. See, it's one of the major, because cholesterol is produced in liver, right? So that's where all the rich source. The next major, that's why I say fact, it was very interesting. I bought, when I was in Singapore in the early 90s, I bought my first Brookhaven light scattering system. And I knew about Brookhaven because when I was doing my postdoc and master, I called up because we have a few Brookhaven instruments. We have the centrifuge, we have the light scattering, different potential analyzer, different instruments. So I called them up, and I was very impressed by the service that they gave us. And very rarely when you talk to an instrument company, you have someone who is very, very fluent and knowledgeable in the instrument. This is one instrument company that's different because the inventor and the owner or co-owner runs the company. So he's very, very, he's a PhD from MIT, so he's very, very smart. So I remember he came and he helped commission my equipment. Because I was in Singapore, I spent a lot of time because if there's some problem with the instrument, it takes 1 or 2 months to get it fixed. So I wanted to really learn from him. So I spent a lot of time there, learning from him how to align the system, how to analyze data, how to interpret, and so he's also very keen to teach me. And then I took him up for a seafood. Singapore seafood is a nice way to make. So, but the problem is that he's quite big, and the night after that, he was supposed to go the next day to Malaysia to visit a customer. In the meantime, he still had chest pain. And then it was very good that he stayed very near the hospital. Then he walked, when he had chest pain, he walked to the hospital, which is about 100 meters away. He collapsed. He had a heart attack, and in fact, they had to resuscitate him twice. Right? And because of that, he had to stay in Singapore. Of course, I still remember he sent me email. I talked to him in the hospital. He asked me to email the company to do different things. And because of the fact that he was hospitalized, the insurance company in America preferred that he get treated in Singapore because it's so much cheaper. As a result, we became very good friends. And I've learned a lot from him about light scattering, which I'm going to touch on in my second part of the course. So, too much seafood is no good. Crabs, prawns, and they are very nice and delicious, but you have cholesterol problems. So, if you have cholesterol that's more than 200 to 220, that's considered high. I'm going to talk about something more important because if you go for health screening, cholesterol is just one indicator. There's a more detailed indicator that you need to know because you can even talk about good and bad cholesterol, right? Okay. Here you come to a very important class of. This is a self-assembled structure called lipoprotein. Okay. As you say, it's a lipid with a phosphate group and a protein. So you can see a lipoprotein basically is a large organized structure that have many different components mixed together. You combine lipids with protein and phospholipid. And then it exhibits this very large structure. Okay? So these are very, very important because these are the entity in which is used to carry things around. Okay? So these are lipoproteins are soluble in water because the surface group comprise of polar head groups. So you can see here you have your steroids, you have your lipid system, and then you have your membrane proteins. So these are the surface layer, and inside there are other types of. So this whole mixture, they organize, self-assembled into this aggregate that comprises a very, very important mixture of molecules. They are being moved around your body, and they get distributed so that you're here today, right? So when you talk about lipoprotein, that's where, because they can move around in your body, your blood vessels, right, to the different organs and cells. So they carry a lot of stuff. Okay. So people have been spending a lot of time figuring out how to handle it, okay? So lipoproteins, they are found, they differ in density, okay? Composition and function, depending on what is inside this structure, so they are different. So for example, you have these two very important, if you go for health screening, they will give you these two readings, LDL and HDL, okay? They will say HDL is a good cholesterol, LDL is bad, okay? So if you have this too much, then you have a higher propensity to get a heart attack, because it carries a lot. See here, right? You see all the fat stuff, you know, like glycerol, phospholipid here, cholesterol. These are all found in very low density lipids, right? Lipoprotein and low density lipoprotein. So these two, if they are highly expressed in the body, then you could go for exercise, right? Otherwise, so exercise is the only way, one of the ways. I mean, you can take drugs to control it, but exercise is one of the main way to burn this out, okay? So you want this to be low, it needs to be high, right? So eventually, the way to assess whether you have a higher propensity to have heart attack because your artery is clogged by this cholesterol is to measure these two components. Okay? So when you look at how these things are being moved around, these sub-assembled lipid structure. So what happens is that in Singapore you take chicken rice, or here you take the hamburgers, so there are lots of dietary lipids or fat, right? So they are being taken in, and then this chylomicron, which is a large molecule or structure that carries all these dietary triglycerol to the fat cells and muscles. So there's only two ways you will go. You either get stored or you get burned. This exercise is very important, right? So if you are an active person, you instead of taking a bus to come to work, you cycle or you walk, right? So you burn it off. So the oxidation meaning energy. So that's one of how things get absorbed into your body and how they are being distributed. So here is the liver. Liver is a very important organ that remove things and they process things, they distribute things, right? So you can see here, you look at VDL, VLDL or LDL, for example, these are the lipoproteins that carry triglycerol, which is the energy storage lipids, from the liver to the fat stock. So if for example, here, you get too much of them, right, it stops, so you get fat, right? Or you get burned, or it deposits, right, move around and then, right, you got too many things moving around, so eventually you form fat, deposit into your, because you look at your blood vessels, right, your blood vessels, it's a huge surface area. There are miles and miles of blood vessels in the body, so if you move them around like roads, right, eventually you clog them. Right? So that's what happens, right? If you have a lot of this LDL, that's what happens, right? So the HDL is a good part, right? Because the HDL moves cholesterol to the liver. Okay? So then they will remove, okay? So cholesterol will be removed. So HDL, highly expressed HDL in your blood is good because that means that it is not depositing, it is moving and clearing it out or putting it to the liver to reprocess. Okay? So LDL and VLDL are the two parts that are not desirable. You want it low, HDL you want it high, and this is how things are being moved around. Either they're being stored, they are being brought to the liver, broken down, reprocessed, excreted, okay, or redistributed. So if you look at the short video that talk about what happened.
After a meal, cholesterol is absorbed into the blood circulation and is then packaged inside a protein coat. This cholesterol protein coat complex complex, called chylomicron, is then transported to the liver. Cholesterol synthesized by the liver, as well as any excess dietary cholesterol in the liver, is transported in the serum. Cholesterol is insoluble in water and is packaged in special molecular complexes called lipoproteins, synthesized by the liver in order to be transported in plasma. The lipoprotein particle is composed of an outer shell of phospholipid, which renders the particle soluble in water, a core of fats called lipid, including cholesterol, and a surface apoprotein molecule that allows tissues to recognize and take up the particle.
Okay, so that's how these things are being recirculated in the lipid. Okay. So when you look at a membrane, the various components of the structure that I talked about are very important in forming this cell membrane, right? So cell membrane are basically made of the various types of lipids, okay? And then you have the proteins that is an important molecule that allows or facilitates the movement of molecules in and out of the cell. And there's receptor here. Remember I talked about the sugar. So these receptors are the one that act as a docking and that trigger certain functions that's going to happen within the cell membrane. The cell membrane is a very, very interesting and dynamic structure that we need to.
Between the living machinery of the inner cell and the harsh conditions of the outside world stands the cell's plasma membrane. As crucial as this barrier is, it's surprisingly flexible. Push it and watch it move. Poke hard enough and it might break and begin to regroup. The lipid molecules of the membrane naturally assemble in a double layer because their tails repel water as their heads attract it. Throw in some cholesterol and a few carbohydrates, and you have the basic structure of a plasma membrane. Within these lipid molecules, we also find different proteins, which do various things for the cell. For instance, they receive signals from the world outside, or they transport nutrients and waste. So nature composes the membrane with a combination or mosaic of different lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins. And these molecules are not stationary. They constantly move within the structure, fluidly changing their positions. The survival of all life rests on this veil of material. A supple membrane, just 2 molecules thick.
Okay, so you find that these lipid molecules and the other system are very, very important in the membrane properties and functions. So you take a lipid, for example, that comprised of a polar hydrophilic head group and a non-polar hydrophobic tail, and then you add them onto the air-water interface. You can see that's what will happen, right? The hydrophobic end will stick out, and the hydrophilic end will be addition to the water because it's water loving, and you then disrupt the superficial tension, and that's reflected by the lowering of the surface tension in water. Okay, and you keep adding, then they're going to form micelle. Okay, and more, then you have to minimize free energy, right? So the question is, what is the structure that they can accommodate the increasing number of these molecules? And you look at structures, they are vesicles and eventually rods and then other types of more complex structures. So the dynamic rearrangement of these structures are very, very critical in the sub-assembly of a lot of the organelles in our body. If you actually examine
When in close proximity, the ends of the sheet can seal together, forming a spherical vessel.
Okay. So this is exactly what happens in nature. You have this continuous equilibrium and evolution of various type of structures due to the fact that these are small dynamic structures, dynamic molecules that interchanges, and what drives them is the free energy. Right? The free energy, you want to minimize the free energy, and hence, depending on the environment and the surrounding, they would want to do that. So if you look at let's say, the reason why many lipids are more desirable to form curved structures, and eventually, in this case, vesicles, because those are the most stable structures that minimize the surface. Okay, so surface energy is the lowest, and that's why there's a higher propensity to do that. I'm not sure whether you a red blood cell is one example. Okay, and there are people who does research in on malaria. Okay, and one of the consequences when you suffer from malaria, say you were infected by the mosquito, one of the major symptoms of malaria is bleeding. And what happened is that they found that when malaria virus infected the blood, red blood cell, it changed the fluidity of the red blood membrane. Okay, and this created a problem because, you see, when the blood is being pumped, the blood basically brings all the nutrients and oxygen, whatever, to all the body, right? And your body, the cell in your fingertips is not supplied by big vessels, it's supplied by capillary, very small vessels. So what happens is that sometimes you have bloodshot in your eye or whatever, right? Because the membrane is broken or the capillary is broken. So people who have malaria, the red blood cells become very rigid. Okay, and this is one of the outcome of the malaria. Is that when your body, you have pressure, right? Your palm, but the red blood cell cannot be formed sufficiently to squeeze to the capillary, and hence it breaks the capillary and you're bleeding. So if you look at a lot of diseases, one of the consequences of that is that the membrane of these structures are being affected by the changing physiological composition due to the introduction of other compounds in there. So you find there are a lot of interesting problems that has its basis in a lot of engineering. Okay? That's why you find that one of the interesting development in the last 10 years, besides the development of nanotechnology, is the bringing together of people from biology, from molecular cell biology, from biochemistry, physiology, medical people. They're now encompassing engineers, right? Engineers like to understand problems, cause and effect, right? We are more quantitative in the way we look at problems, and we always ask the why question. If you talk to Bob Langer, he was talking way back. Doctors are very good at going to the kitchen and use things in the kitchen to make stuff, right? That's why you have a lot of the earlier mention of a lot of the implants are made from materials from the kitchen, impacted by women, their wives, and some impact in all those choices. But now, because of this merging of various disciplines, you find that now is a very, very interesting opportunity to come up with very, very exciting development. Okay? So you find a lot of these problems a lot of these things we talk about now, you can now bring together various disciplines and understand more clearly define some of the issues that we talk about. So all these problems are not descriptive anymore. We can quantitatively look at them and then try to address their problem.
Excuse me.
Yeah?
Sorry, for the membrane, even if it was that it gets like a break or something, the fibrin, the molecule which is responsible in order to stop for the bleeding kind of thing. So for the malaria thing, is like the virus enable the fibrin molecule? Because even if like we get bleeding from the membrane, it's still the fibrin molecule are responsible.
Yeah, I mean, this is another different problem, right? A clotting phenomenon, right? So you cut this formation of this, that's how these people are doing peptide assembly, right? Forming 5 fibers, and that allows in the healing process. But we talk about internal bleeding, right? So there need to be a lot of activation of different things that's happened. But when you have a mass breakage of, that's why when people have brain hemorrhage, right? There's no way you can prevent that. So it's the matter of extent, right? So if you have too much of this happening, your body cannot restore. There's no way your body can self-heal. So you need doctors to intervention to deal with the problem. The best intervention is to keep healthy, right? Is to live a healthy life, not to sleep is one very, very important thing. So don't stay up too late. That's why a lot of young people now, we are seeing a lot of what we call general X diseases. People who are watching the TV screen all the time, like all these people here. Right? We are constantly exposed to a lot of the technology problems. Right? Then you don't sleep so often now because you're playing games on TV until midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning. So a lot of our lifestyle now are being driven by technology, right? So you don't go out for walks, you don't go out and play games. So these are the sort of things you got to watch out for, because technology are very good, but if you do not have a right balance, they can bring problems to you too. Okay? So just summarize. Okay? If you look at, I want to just stress to you, we talk about the many components of the lipids, right? And why you have all these different chemical composition and the structures, and how they're responsible for the self-assembling of the membrane and the decoration of the membrane to impart function to the membrane. Very important, right? And also, there are a lot of receptor mediated transport that is initiated by a lot of the carbohydrate that's on the surface of the cell membrane. They're responsible for a lot of the docking of receptor mediated processes. So one of the important approaches to targeted drug delivery is to understand the expression of certain cells. For some cancer cell, for example, a certain express system on the cell, and they are more receptive to certain ligand structures. So then you could use certain ligand to target that particular cell itself. Okay, so I've shown you the video about the lipid bilayers, and we talked about, for example, this is the basic structure of a cell, the nucleus, and then inside there are lots of very important vesicles and chloroplasts, many different types of organelles within the cell itself, right? And how these structures are very, very important. In fact, Heisenberg, many years ago at Yale, he was able to demonstrate, right, in a synthetic system, polystyrene block polyacrylic acid, that if you're able to dissolve it and use solvent exchange, you could form vesicles with baby vesicles inside, right? But it's nothing new, because our cell, the nucleus is a vesicle by itself. Then within there's a liposome, and then there's this what we call what's that digest endocytosis, and then they wrap around the foreign object and then digest it. What's the term for that? I skip my mind now. Anyone know? Sorry? Yeah, I know that. Yeah, when.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't.
When let's say a molecule or a foreign particle is being endocytosed into a cell, it gets wrapped up into a vesicle structure, and then they pump the proton, which disappears linozyme, right? Okay, so that's a vesicle by itself, right? So you look at it, the cellular structure are very, very complex. There are many sub-organelles within a cell. This is a general micron, but down you have smaller and smaller structures. Okay, and the other important thing with regards to cell is the transport. Okay, you can see here, right? There are diffusion. Those are very standard transport, where you go from a high concentration to a low concentration. Okay, then there's some facilitated transport that use what we call protein channels. The protein is the very important molecule that moves things from one outside of the cell membrane to inside, and the reverse happens. So these are very important facilitated transport. And then there's active transport. Take for example, can you tell me which in the cell potassium and sodium ion, which is higher, inside the cell or outside the cell? Okay, let's say now you have a cell. And you have two ions, potassium. These are two very important ions. Okay. These are two monovalent ions, very important in the physiological cell. Okay. My question to you is that which is higher inside the cell? Sorry? Sodium, right? Sodium is higher. Right? Sodium is about 140. And then, sorry? Potassium is higher inside. Sodium is higher outside. Right? So this is very high outside. Potassium is very high inside. Okay, how can that happen? Right? So now there's an engineer that trying to disprove this whole idea of they call a sodium pump, potassium pump, because molecular cell biologists, when they can't explain something, they introduce a new concept, right? So this is the concept introduced. So this is currently a factual thing as far as biochemistry is concerned. You go to any book, they talk about pumps, everywhere pumps, all sorts of pumps, right? If they can't explain anything by diffusion, they will say active transport. Something in there that creates. So so this is how one of the idea is how
sodium inside the cell binds to the protein. The addition of a phosphate group from ATP changes the shape of the protein, and the sodium is expelled.
3 sodium expelled, right?
Now potassium binds to the protein. The phosphate is released, and as the protein returns to its former shape, potassium is moved into the cell. Sodium can once again bind to the protein, and the process repeats as long as there is a supply of ATP.
That means so, hence you have a higher concentration of potassium outside, inside and outside. So this is the concept of sodium pump, and many other pumps that they talk about, where you have this what we call active transport. Okay. But engineers are now starting to question this. In fact, that guy that wrote the book, Cells, the Engine of Life, which I read, he claimed, so this is a debatable question, he claimed that the basic physiological of cell as we understood it, as everyone would learn in molecular and cell biology textbook, he claimed that it's like in the days where people thought the earth was flat, right? If you, in those days, when you say the earth was round, you can be stoned to death, right? They say you are a heretic. So this guy from the University of Washington, bioengineer, said, this is our engineering calculation. He says that if you have all the pumps that they proposes, where's energy coming from? So he did the calculation, it's not possible. So this is the current debate, right? Of all this. See, the theory of all this pump comes from is because the guy who won the Nobel Prize did some, what we call, he put a pipette and he measured current. So he was able to so-called prove that there's this movement of ion through. So that's why this active transport using the ionic pump is a very, very popular theory that's accepted in a lot of molecular cell biology textbooks. So that's all I'm going to talk about for lipids. So let me recap. Lipids is the important building block in the physiological cell membrane. Okay? The self-assembling of the bilayers, the vesicles, and the integrity and the structure of this system, and the very complex combination of many different organelles within the cell is a result of the many different forms of this lipid system. Okay? So the next topic that I'm going to cover has to do with DNA. Okay? So all of us have chromosome, right? You are brown eyes, blue eyes, because you have chromosome that defines who you are, right? How big is a chromosome? Anyone? What's the size of a chromosome? Sorry? What is the rough size of a chromosome? Yes, this one. What's the size? Is it that small? The chromosome is, when you take chromosome study, when you do, kids, you do in high school, they ask you can actually look at an optical microscope. They are about 2 microns, right? Right? Okay. About 2 microns, approximately. How long is your DNA? If I put 2 meters, right? 2 meters, the DNA, right? 2 meters. How do you pack a 2 meters into 2 microns? That's why you talk about 2 meters, right? So 2 meters. 2 meters to 2 microns. So what is that? That is about 6 times, right? 1,000,000 times. I give you a rope. Let's say 2-mile rope, right? I ask you to pack it into a 2 micron. The problem. That's why when you start thinking about all these issues, you ask yourself, can all these things evolve, right? We are engineers, right? We design things, we design aeroplane. So when you think of this condensation of DNA, not only that, okay? And then there's this whole phenomenon of transcription. The double helix has to open up. It has to read and make a messenger RNA. The messenger RNA has to be translated to the proteins, right? And if that one step is wrong, you're dead, right? You have a disease, right? So the position in which these things are functioning, right now, your body, you are making proteins, right? Because otherwise you don't go and cut your hair, right? Because your hair is keep growing, right? So your body is manufacturing the proteins, keratin, to stimulate the growing. So the complexity of these biomolecules, and then when you boil it down, when Crick, right, when the Watson and Crick confirmed the double structure of DNA in just the 50s, the DNA now becomes a very, very important cell system that has very, very profound impact on who we are, on a lot of things that happen within our body, right? So let's talk about the DNA. In fact, one of the important problems of DNA is to do with condensation, right? So Who is doing gene delivery here? Gene delivery?
It's through nucleosome. Actually,
So,
each
sorry?
the DNA strand through the nucleosome is like 2 grams of the DNA for each unit of the nucleosome wraps and makes it the way that we see, like folded. And the lysine is one of the major units that makes this folding. I did my master on this.
Okay, good.
And
You can give a lecture on that. Yeah. So if you're involved in DNA gene delivery, okay, gene delivery has 2 issues, right? The first issue is to pack the genes in the vehicle, then you have to transport it into the nucleus, right? Okay. So one of the problems with gene delivery is that you can pack the DNA and you go to the nucleus, it remains packed. So the delivery failed, right? You deliver to the site, but it doesn't release, so then the delivery failed. So that's one issue. You want to pack it well so that it doesn't get digested by the lysozyme, by enzymes in the body. But if you pack so well, it goes in, it doesn't get released, so it's no use to. So there's this fine balance of being able to pack, send it to the site, trigger the release. And that is the point that it's a black box. So gene delivery has been, there are some successes, and the successes, some of them could be just a very unique case, but there are also many failures in gene delivery. So I think one of the lessons that one can learn from all this is fundamental understanding of what happens. And that's where the complexity of what we're dealing with. The complexity of doing an experiment in a well-defined buffer system, and then taking it in, and then inject it into the cell. I just spoke to someone from UMass Amherst today. He wanted, because we did some work where we measure drug release online. We have a probe, we can measure concentration of drug as a function of time. Typically, when people do drug release of nanoparticle, you probably have 6 to 8, 10 points. We can do release 50,000 points because we have an online probe. So he wanted to study the impact of morphine, which is used to kill pain, and there's an impact of carbon dioxide to that, and how, if you have too much of the morphine, eventually you can kill a patient. So he wanted to figure out how to have an antidote to mediate the morphine effect. So he wanted to look at the release issue. So he said, okay, you can do work on a buffer, but when you want to do drug release in the blood, actual blood, I mean, could you know how complex it is? What probe are you going to use to measure, to quantify? So you can see a lot of the problems when you do the biologics is very, very complex. And I think that is where the challenges are, to be able to use all the different skills of different people, and hopefully over time there's enough fundamental insights that will allow us to take lab understanding to actual clinical thing. And one of the major problems, you look at other pharmacies, right? They formulate, inject in a rat. Works, good. Doesn't work, scratch your head, go and formulate, right? So there's a big black box that is still unknown, right? And that is the challenge. And the problem is that if you do lab, take it to the animal, this study from the lab may not be so relevant because, right, the system is different, right? I have a friend who was trying to design and develop a transducer to measure velocity of blood and pressure of blood. So he did a lot of development in a very defined test loop, improved the system, and worked. Then with a cardiologist, they implant it into a blood vessel. Completely doesn't work because the blood vessel is a soft capillary that changes. There's many different things happen there. So you can see a lot of the problems we're dealing with is very, very complex. So what are DNAs? For those who knows it, it's a revision. They are basic components of a DNA. As we say, it has a sugar, deoxyribose sugar. If you have the ribose, it will be RNA. The difference is this, instead of OH, there's an H group, right? So that's the first component. The second component is a phosphate group that you link together all the sugar. And then the third are the 4 amino acids, right? Which is critical for the double helix structure. The thymine, tyrosine, adenine, and guanine. Right? So these are the 4 nitrogen base, we call base pair, that you can then link together the deoxyribose sugar with the phosphate, and then you can produce what we call the DNA system, right? You can see here, this is the 5th, so what we call this 5 prime, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And over here is the third, the OH group, so you go from 5 prime to 3 prime, and then you have another one going from 3 prime, 5 prime to 3 prime here, then you have a complementary strand, and then you form a nice hydrogen bonded strand that then conform into a double helix structure. So this is critical in the hydrogen bond between these 4 residue that created the, so A and T form this hydrogen bond, remember O and the hydrogen of the nitrogen, and then this is the other one. So these are the hydrogen bonded structure that brings the 2 strands together, and then there's a very, very natural conformation that creates this double helix structure of the DNA. As you can see here, this is the double helix structure of DNA. And this strand, anti-parallel, that means they are in opposite direction. So they form this base pair induced by hydrogen bond of the 4 bases. Okay, and these 2 strands drag each other every 30 angstrom, 300 meters. It goes through 1 round. Okay, or once every 10 base pair. You do that. And then 2 chains are held together by hydrogen bond, A to T and C to G. So this just a 4, and then implicit into this, depending how they arrange, these are the codes that impart whether you are brown eye, blue eye, whether you are male or female. Right? So they are very, very important information that's being stored into them. So as you can see here, so these are the assembling of the DNA strand, this double helix structure. And you can see, if you learn about transcription, where you produce messenger RNA, then the thing is open up, right? So this assembly, disassembling process. You can see here, so this is the hydrogen bond, 3 prime to 5 prime, then opposite anti-parallel. 3 prime to 5 prime, and so then they form nice complementary strand, and that then induce this double helix structure. And DNA also can exist in a plasmid. Plasmid means to close the loop, right? And this is the plasmid here. You can study this by electrophoresis, gel electrophoresis. You can see here this loop can form this wrapping around, and you can have this 3 different conformations. As you can see here, this is the lab wrapping. I remember when I went to a conference in the early 90s. I still remember the place that we had. It was in Sacramento. And Stephen Chu, who is Stephen Chu? Anybody? He's the Energy Secretary of the U.S. government now. Stephen Chu was a physics professor at Stanford University. He did his postdoc, and then his career started at the Bell Lab. Bell Lab is unfortunately non-existent anymore. Bell Lab was responsible for a lot of the Nobel invention in the early days. Stephen Chu was responsible, or he was working on using laser. You can cross a laser in such a way you can create a low energy valve. So the low energy valve can trap an atom. You know? There's this whole aspect of if you cool down, because the gas molecule is moving very fast. If you cool it down and then you have a laser beam that create energy well, when atom fall inside, it becomes stationary. You can trap an atom. And he says you take the atom that's trapped, you throw it out, you measure the time it takes to flow a certain distance, your atomic clock. Okay? So this invention resulted in him and two other people winning the Nobel Prize in physics. And then that invention resulted in this optical tweezer. Optical tweezer is a technique where you use a laser and you create a well